Hello, my name is Una Khan, and I'm a research associate at Man Library, currently working on the Linked Data for Libraries Labs project. This webinar will cover how to execute SPARQL queries using the SPARQL query form and the SPARQL query API, and how to export RDF data from your VitroLib instance. To access the different functionality in this webinar that we'll be demonstrating, you need to be logged in as a site administrator. So I'm logging in right now, and you see the site admin link on the top right. Once you've logged in, click on that and you'll see several links to other pages available to site administrators. For example, the SPARQL query link, which we'll be looking at now. If you click on the SPARQL query link, it opens up this page, which has a text area where you can put in your SPARQL query and then execute it using the Run Query button. Now I already have a query that I've copied, and I will paste that now here. And this query is asking for all individuals of type faux person and for their names based on the RDFS label property. And the prefixes you're seeing here are already defined up here. So RDF, RDFS, and faux. By default, the first option is selected, which is text. So when I hit Run Query, you'll see the results in these columns, with the first column being the URIs of the people, and the second column being the RDFS label value or their names. There are additional formats you can request results in, for example, a comma-separated value format or RSJSON. If you pick any of these, for example, if you pick CSV and hit Run Query, you will either get an option to save the file, or in my case, I've already told it to automatically save it and open it. And here you'll see this is a CSV file, so you've got your URIs here and your names. The SPARQL query form is one way of executing SPARQL queries against your VitroLib instance. Another way that you can get SPARQL query results from your VitroLib instance programmatically is using the SPARQL query API. And what you will need in order to execute SPARQL queries using this API is a VitroLib instance that's configured to accept SPARQL query API requests. Now I have a local instance that is in fact configured to accept requests. As part of the configuration, you'll need an email address and password that are allowed to access the API. So first I'll show you how to use the SPARQL query API from your browser by way of example. So I have the query here. This is the query that we just executed using the SPARQL query form. It's URL encoded here, and the prefixes have been expanded. Here is the base URL for the SPARQL query API. Here's the email address and password that are configured to allow the SPARQL query API to execute on my local VitroLib instance. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this, go to my browser, paste in this query and configuration, and here are the results. So this is using the SPARQL query API and getting results for people, but in this case I limited it to 5, so I get 5 results back. You can also use a curl command or a wget command to access the API, and that's probably what you're more likely to be doing. You could also do perhaps an AJAX request, I guess, if you needed to. And here you have the curl command, your email, password being sent in, and the query. This is also specifying that we would like the results back in JSON, SPARQL JSON. And then here is the URL. So API SPARQL query appended to your base VitroLib instance name. So if I press enter now, this gives me back the results in a JSON format. Here are the variables that you asked for, and then the actual values. So the URI of the person and the name of the person. To get more information about this, you can look at the Geospace wiki for the Vivo software. So this is a SPARQL Query API page that tells you how to access the API and what information you need. There's also a SPARQL Update API, which allows you to insert statements using this API. And the format is very similar. I'm not going to actually execute it, but you can see this is a curl command. Here's your email, your password, and then this refers to a file right here which has the command that you would like to execute for inserting data. And then this is the URL for your SPARQL Update API. So SPARQL Query was SPARQL Query, SPARQL Update is just SPARQL Update here. So that concludes the SPARQL Query portion of the webinar. Now let's go back to our main VitroLib instance and go to our site admin page where we will look at how to export RDF. So here's the Rdf Export link. If you click on that, you can see all of your different options for exporting RDF within the application. You could export everything within the application, which would include both the T-box and A-box, which means the definitions, the ontology, and all your instance data, as well as information specific to how the application runs. So all of the stuff that's represented as RDF would come out of this. You could export just the ontology or just the instant data, and you could also export whatever ontologies have been defined within your VitroLib instance. So all of the statements that pertain to those ontologies as they exist within your VitroLib instance. And there are also options here where you could export only asserted statements, statements that have been inferred, or everything. There are also multiple formats that you can select from. You could export your RDF as XML or N3, N triples, or Turtle. So let's go ahead and let's say that we want to export all the instance data. So I pick instance data. I'm interested in only the asserted statements, and I would like my results as N3. So when I hit the export button, I get this option which says I can open this file up. And here you see the N3. Now these are all of the, this is all of the instance data within my VitroLib, within the VitroLib application. This concludes the webinar.